members, it's time to start the second session. We also have a quorum. Now we are on item 4 on the agenda, FCR bracket to 2013 to 1437. Members invited to approve the proposed enhancements of the expenses reimbursement and related arrangements for members of the district councils with effect from the 1st of January 2014. The Home Affairs Bureau consulted the panel on Home Affairs at its meeting on the 8th of November 2013. While all 507 district councillors would have pecuniary interest in the matter. Now, when the Finance Committee handled similar funding proposals in the past, we've taken that in account, and I believe that for electrical members who are also district councillors, they may speak and vote on the item after they've declared interest. So, members, if you wish to declare interest, please raise your hands now. I'll read out the names one by one. Ms. Chen Yunhan. Mr. Chairman, you're saying that I agree, district councillors may declare, but can I not speak or vote? No, you can both speak and vote. Okay, fine. Now I get it. Please raise your hands. I'll read out your names for declaration of interest. Ms. Chen Yunhan, 1. Many are not here yet. Well, I may have to remind them again when they come in. Now, after members have disclosed declared their interest, are there others? Let's wait for a second. Staff, can you go and check, please? Let me continue. From the Home Affairs Bureau, we have Mr. Jack Chan, Deputy Director of Home Affairs. Ms. Dora Fu, Assistant Director of Home Affairs. They're here to answer members' questions. Any questions, please? Mr. Raymond Wong. Mr. Wong, you have the first to go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I support this funding proposal, but I'd like to say something on behalf of district councillors. For the operating expenses reimbursement, it's not sufficient for members to operate their ward offices. It's the same for electrical members, but perhaps for the functional constituency members, they have enough to spend. For us, we don't have enough to spend. For district councillors, the same, and their honorarium is so little, and the OER is so little. And some members even have difficulties finding ward offices. And that's why in applying for public rental housing, estate office space, district councillors have priority. I think it's right. That's why I never get it. Then the Liberal Party, there is this member called Chen Xiqing. He gave an example, 60 square feet, $27,000 in rent. So how much does he get in OER is enough just to pay for either rent or an assistant. And then eventually the government made arrangement for him to set up, the container type of office under a flyover in Yunlong. And who are on the independent commission on remuneration for members of District Council of the Hong Kong SAR. The chairman is Mr. Eric Lee. And then others are from the financial sectors or the accounting sector. There's just one former appointed district councillors on the commission. So how would these members understand the day-to-day operations of ward officers, district councillors? How could they see their difficulties? But they are the one to decide on the OER rate. Now you're saying that you increase the OER, accountable OER by 34%. to over $30,000 may seem a lot, but it's like just a handout. I think you're about to abolish appointed seats anyway, right? So for this independent commission, what is the representativeness of this commission? How do members of the commission understand the needs and the difficulties faced by district councillors? It's like electoral members. We always ask whether we could increase the pay of our staff. No, not a chance. Again, it's because the independent commission members know nothing about reality. Now, the problem here is for OER, it goes to pay primarily the office rent and then the remuneration of assistants. For large political parties, they have no problems. Like DAB, they have a fund of several tens of millions of dollars, so they have no problems. They could give back up to their staff, to their members, party members. But for independent members without any political affiliation, I really don't see the point of them staying as district councillors. They get so little in allowance and no one helps them. No wonder everybody pretends to be independent and then they ask for shelter from DAB. And so the Democratic camp, there are fewer and fewer district councillors because they cannot share resources, and they just rely on the OER provided by the government. It's not going to work that way. So it's about encouraging people from different sectors to become district councillors. Well, I would say the current arrangement is injustice. What is your question? Of course, we have to support it. Otherwise, they won't even get this increase. So we have no choice but to support it. But I think you have to review the entire system. Now, soon we're not going to have appointed seats. So you have to review the honorarium and the reimbursement rates for district councillors. You also have to expand their powers and functions. Thank you. Any response, please, from the administration? You've heard the member. Mr. Chen? Yes, I've heard the members' views. We're proposing to increase the accountable OER by 34%. It's exactly because we could see the difficulties faced by district councillors that includes the high expenses for rental. Now, with this funding approach, every month the OER would be increased to $34,000, and that could help district councillors to pay for their office rent. Now, if we could increase the amount to this level, we could take care of 98% of the members in terms of their expenses. Dr. Lam Tai-Fai? Well, I don't see any reasons why I should oppose to this proposed increase of OER, especially now the government has such poor governance. District councillors must have heavier workload and are under heavier pressure because the government doesn't do a proper job. They are caught as well, so you should give them more OER hours. It only makes sense. But that's not the real reason. The real reason is that in the past they don't have enough allowances. I've been a district councillor myself, so I fully understand their situation. It's not as Mr. Raymond Wong said. For many elected district councillors, they have to find ways to meet their monthly expenses. It puts a lot of pressure on them, both physically and psychologically. Of course, it therefore affects the quality of their work. Now, in the past, perhaps the importance of district councillors wasn't so apparent, but now the government has to rely on district councillors to help them out because the district councillors are at the front line, so they have to help with coordination, and they are able to diffuse forms, and they're able to pass on views of the public to the government, and also they could help pass on messages from the government to the public, so they have onerous workload. Now, this proposed increase of 30% for OER, I support it. Still, that's not enough to address the problem, as Mr. Raymond Wong rightly pointed out. Now, many members have to worry about rental, and they have to set up what offices in a building but then it's not so easy, therefore, for them to reach out to residents. So the government has to help them find proper or suitable ward officers. Now, after enhancement of the expenses reimbursement, I think the next step is to consider the honorarium of district councillors. Many residents, many organizations have told the government this. Even for electrical members, we get a raise in our salary. How come district councillors don't get a raise? I think in terms of their honorarium, you're saying that the end of gratuity, end of term gratuity, you have increased that by 50%, but I think that's just to catch up with what you haven't given them in the past. So if you really understand about the work of the district councillors and you need them to help you out, government, I think in terms of the honorarium, you have to review it as soon as possible so that you could retain more district councillors in office, and then they could help the government in turn. Thank you.
Do you need any response from the administration? Or administration want to respond? Mr. Chairman, when we try to find officers for district councillors, we've spared no effort in doing so because we understand that they face difficulties. Of the 507 district councillors, not many have difficulties in finding ward officers. For the time being, 17 district councillors do not yet have ward officers. 11 do not intend to set up ward officers, and 6 district councillors are still fetching officers. And our Home Affairs Department is working very hard to find officers for them. Mr. Tam Yu Chung, Mr. Chairman, I support the proposals in this paper. The proposals will give more resources to district councillors, such that when they provide services, they can pay for their expenses. And these payments are to be made accountable. Mr. Ip Kok Him from the relevant FC has been urging the administration to do this for a long, long time. Now the administration is taking the first step. Although the proposed funding is still not enough, it is good that the administration has taken the first step such that district councillors can serve their local communities better. Originally, I did not intend to speak, but Mr. Wong Yok Man said something about the DAB. Well, you see, sometimes Mr. Wong may say that he is glorifying us, but we have to understand the underlying meaning. We are not overspending. Why is it that we pull ourselves together? Because we would like to join hands in the provision of district services. It's not because we've been given a great deal of money. It's not because of this that district councillors have joined the DAB. It's just that we share the same concept, we share the same dedication to serve the community. Therefore, we get together and support one another. In fact, our resources are not unlimited. Many independent members and pan-democrat members have also got a great deal of resources. They've received quite a remuneration package, and a lot of gifts have been given by them to the local communities. For example, Mr. Wong Yok Man has been treating his local residents as well, so maybe Kai Fongs should also approach him. Mr. Ari Lee, Mr. Chairman, I have to declare that I'm an incumbent district councillor and I also support the funding proposal in the paper. I have a number of questions about the paper. Well, district councillors have indicated their support for this increase of 34% for the OER. But then, if within this term, DC members have to relocate their ward offices, the accountable SER will be increased from 50% to 100%. Well, I have to further declare that because of the high rental, I was forced to relocate my ward office. So does this increase cover us? And then your proposal in B is good. That is, to allow the surplus from OER entitlement to roll over from one calendar year to another. Now, this is to guard against any scandal as well. Some district councillors have asked that you allow them to flexibly use their funds for the 4 years. So why is it that the surplus can only roll over from one calendar year to another? In any case, the cap is $304,704 per annum. As for relocation of ward officers, strong views have been expressed because the capital expenses is $50,000 only. For 4 years, if a DC member wants to procure an air conditioner, a computer, a photocopier, then it would not be enough. Why can't we have $70,000 for capital expenditure? Mr. Chan, thank you, Ms. Lee, for her 3 questions. Can incumbent district councillors enjoy the concession? Well, we would like the Finance Committee to endorse this proposal today. If so, the proposal will take immediate effect. Well, incumbent district councillors may not be able to make use of this increase, but for future relocation of ward officers, the increase will be from 50% to 100%. As for flexibility, we've always tried to be lenient and flexible. First of all, the amount is on an annual basis. The surplus can be rolled over to the following calendar year up until the end of the term of the DC. As for the third question of Ms. Tari Lee, the existing arrangement already allows district councillors to pay in advance 2 months of the accountable OER. That is, DC members can flexibly make use of these 2 months of OER. As for the proposal of increasing the $50,000 for procurement of equipment, we understand that district councillors are really subject to certain constraints. We're actively reviewing the arrangement to see whether more flexibility can be built into the arrangement. As to the procurement of photocopiers, if a district councillor is of the view that procurement is too expensive as a one-off expenses, he can hire one at $400 per month, including repair and maintenance, rather than having to spend, say, $30,000 on a one-off basis. Ms. Chen Yunhan, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a district councillor. Just now, the officials told us that only 10-odd district councillors have not got an office yet, but they do have difficulties. I have a colleague on Hong Kong Island. He has been renting a private premises, but it's very expensive, so he eventually opted for a container office, so to speak. For PRH premises, I myself encountered difficulties as well. And sometimes you don't know what uses the government has put to certain PRH units. It's just that district councillors cannot use them. During the last term, I knew of many such district councillors. So I do not believe that only 10 district councillors cannot find their office at the moment. Well, it's difficult to find PRH premises as well. Mr. Wong Yok Man said something. Well, let me cite myself as an example. We're from the super DCs. Of course, we want every citizen to see us, but it's very difficult to find a ward office. Say, if I want somewhere in Kai Tak, our priority is only the 3rd or the 4th. So what use being a super DC member? I can't meet my residents, my electors. You see, as a super DC member, many people want to see us. I have 3 colleagues, but Chairman, I don't have money. And some colleagues comforted me by saying that I could make use of my LegCo resources, but I cannot mix the two. In my small constituency, every day, apparently, we're acting like insurance companies. We have to fill up forms for elders. So sometimes we have to make use of our LegCo resources. In the FTU, we have a joint office, we share resources. Otherwise, we'll be in greater difficulty. So I'd like to tell the administration this. Well, prima facie, this increase of 30% is quite huge. But in reality, that's very little. Because if you want to hire people to work for you, if you don't pay a certain level of wages, you won't get the right persons. You cannot retain good staff. So I'd like to tell the officials this. Well, maybe you'll say that I'm not being scientific, because you told me that only 10 odd DC members have failed to find ward officers. I don't agree. Secondly, about money. As an elected councillor, if he wants to contact many members of the public, he won't have sufficient human resources, given this subvention. Thirdly, today I of course welcome this discussion about money, but very often, apart from resources, there's another very important aspect. District officials came to DC meetings. I mentioned this in the Home Affairs panel and the Constitutional Affairs panel. I asked that the functions and roles of the DCs be upgraded. So I really don't understand why, after repeated requests, the administration still does not heed our requests. You see, back in 1995, when the 2 municipal councils were abolished, we were told that their functions would be transferred to the DCs. The present situation is not ideal. And very often, the district council called me back to hold meetings. I asked why. They told me, Ms. Chen Yunhan, is very important for you to be present, because if you are here, they will listen very carefully to you. So, when they encounter difficulties, they want me back at the meeting, so that officials will seriously listen to them. So I welcome this 30-odd% of increase, but in reality, that's not enough. In actual fact, our terms of reference is not sufficient. Even the district officers feel that their hands are tied. Well, they don't need to answer my questions. Well, administration, maybe you want to respond? Didi? Well, Mr. Chairman, I urge my district colleagues to help as far as possible district councillors to find ward officers. Well, it's not as easy as you say. Sometimes the hurdle is with the housing department. All right, we'll put that on record. Two more members. Mr. Portier. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I have to declare that my better half, my spouse, is a district councillor. But today I'm not speaking on her behalf because she is rather lucky. Given her age and background, she is very dedicated to serve the community. Unlike young district councillors, she does not have to sustain a family. But for some of our colleagues here, they are district councillors, we absolutely should support this funding application. But this is only the start, not the end. Nowadays, district councillors are doing much more than they should be doing as DC members. Previous duties of the district officers now fall on the shoulders of district councillors, and some district officers are just sitting back doing nothing. our DC members have to handle complaints, serve as social workers, counselors, or even plumbers, because in the middle of the night they may be called to visit residents to address their piping problems. And financially, the middle class may need less support, but you have to take into consideration rent. PRH estates can offer cheaper premises, but sometimes district councillors have to help their residents to organize funerals, wedding banquets, etc., etc. So be it district councillors or their assistants, their qualifications are ever rising, and money is always needed. And sometimes district councillors are like doing charity. Just today, I went to the court to support a district councillor because there's a small criminal case which might involve imprisonment. Well, eventually, he was not imprisoned. Well, after giving up a job, fetching him $30,000 to $40,000 a month, he became a district councillor. He paid a high price to serve the community. In the past, district councillors were already subject to financial constraints, where we don't encourage them to resort to unscrupulous means to solve the problem. But in the long run, if we want quality district councillors and assistants, this should only serve as a start, and we should review the increases. And very often we have to meet the public and handle district work. But when compared with district councillors, we're relatively luckier because very often we only speak. But for district councillors, they have to do actual work. People actually knock on their doors because the grassroots are really miserable. I had served as an FC member and now a GC member. I understand fully the market difference between the two. Be it salaries or allowances, the same principle is true. We must have a more flexible mechanism for the grassroots citizens. We must have a flexible approach so that district councillors can have extra allocation to serve them. Now, district councillors are not pocketing such sums of money. They're trying to help the grassroots, so we must have flexibility. I hope that the HAD can consider this direction. As for the three proposals here, I support them. I don't know why they are not done in the past. Maybe the department can explain to us why it is waited now to make these proposals. In principle, I support the proposals, but I'd like to see more improvement. Brief response, please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Dare, for your support. Why did we wait till now? In fact, all along we've been reviewing our systems, and in every review we considered different views. For this review, in May and June, we had 4 focus groups to directly listen to the views of the district councillors. And all views expressed have already been incorporated into these proposals. Last one, Dr. Chang Lai Wan. Thank you, Chairman. I just want to make one comment. Just now many colleagues mentioned rental. Well, I'm from Kowloon West. We all know that the rental levels there, from Yau Tsin Mong, Sham Shui Po, all the way up to West Kowloon, rentals are high. And even in the new territories, rentals have become much higher. And in Yau Tsin Mong, the rentals are highest. So I'd like the administration to examine how to assist district councillors. I did assist some of them to fetch ward officers. Well, if you go to Whampoa and Mayfu, it's just impossible. Any shop would cost you tens of thousands of dollars per month.
So I hope in the future it can be further adjusted and consideration may be given to the difference between district councillors in urban district and in the rural areas. Can a more scientific method be formulated? Because I understand that the rental currently stands at $4,000 or $5,000 in more remote areas, so there is a big difference. All right, that's a comment. Two more. Declaration or what, Mr. James Ho? Declaration of interest. I am also a district councillor. I have a comment. If in the constituency or even in within a distance outside the constituencies, if premises with rent at a suitable level cannot be identified, then an extra allowance can be given, but only to make up for the shortfall in rental. And you can look into it for constituencies with more PRH estates, so that for a district councillor, he can be allocated within a PRH estate premises of a certain size. Then you can compare the rental between the two, so that for rental it can be given on an accountable basis, because in fact it's for paying rental, and you can prevent abuse and resolve the problem. Noted, right? Next, Dr. Priscilla Leung. Chairman, I need to declare that I'm also a district council in Kowloon West. Just now, I've heard comments from members. I won't repeat them, but in the long term, on grooming political talents, I have many friends and partners who are elected district councillors, and they are exhausted because on the one hand, they don't have sufficient manpower. They really need assistance, and they need to work on a two-shift basis. And district councillors' assistants sometimes work from 7 to 11 when workload is heavy. So even if these assistants are committed, you find it embarrassing to ask them to stay. Now, for constituencies, there are different types, some with more grassroots, some with more middle class. And for grassroots districts, it's easier to get shops at the cheaper rent. For constituencies with more private buildings, sometimes they need to take money out of their own pockets to make up for the shortfall. It's very difficult for them. How can you make them feel that district councillors can become their career? Because some may think that they would like to resume their original career as social workers and so on and so forth. So from this perspective, I think we should consider the issue. Recently, I came across a case, and this person got into trouble with the law because of election matters, and he doesn't find himself wrong, so he has taken the case to court, and he spent all his remuneration over the years as district councillors on the court case. And as a public figure, the district councillor has to handle matters on a number of fronts, and I personally also support the government's proposal today. All right, noted. Declaration, Chen Hanpan. I am a Chun Wan District Councillor. Mr. James To, second round. 3 minutes. Well, having heard Dr. Priscilla Leung's comment, I think we need to be careful. Dr. Leung refers to a case, and at the time when he was elected, there was a legal dispute on his eligibility and whether he was legitimately elected, and that is not the same as the operating expenses, etc. So that case may not be very persuasive. Of course, different candidates may run for an election, and it might be difficult for them to fight the legal battle. But this is not the same as operating expenses as a district councillor. We should not look into individual cases. Chairman, I'm sorry, after Mr. James To's comment, may I also be given 2 minutes to respond? We're not going to discuss this case. This candidate might, due to carelessness, made a mistake in the form. He is not a lawyer. But problems stem from it, and I mean, for the issues arising from the case, we can consider them. All right. If there are no other comments, this item will be put to a vote. Will those in favor of FCR 2013-14 37 please raise your hands? Yes. Please put down your hands. Those against? None. All right. This item is endorsed. Next one. Item 5, FCR 2013-14 39. This item invites members to approve an injection of $350 million into the AIDS Trust Fund in 2013-14 to continue the support in prevention and control of human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, or acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, AIDS, in Hong Kong. We have from the Food and Health Bureau consulted the panel on health services before, and we have from the administration Professor Sophia Chan, Undersecretary for Food and Health, Ms. Fiona Chow, Principal Assistant Secretary for Food and Health, and Dr. Leung Teng Hong, Controller from the Center of Health Protection, and Dr. Henry Ng, Head of Program Management and Professional Development Branch. So, Dr. Leung Ka-lau, would you please report as Chairman on Health Services, the deliberations of the panel? The panel on health services deliberated on the above funding proposal on the 28th of October 2013. Members supported the proposal of injection of $350 million to AIDS Trust Fund to continue to support the work of control and prevention of AIDS and HIV in Hong Kong, as the HIV prevalence for MSM is much higher than other at-risk groups. Members are very concerned about the effectiveness of the intervention work funded by the AIDS Trust Fund on the MSM, and the members urge the administration to strengthen their effort in funding more NGOs in launching focused work on MSMs and other at-risk groups. And members also urge the administration to enhance publicity and public education of AIDS, including sex education in schools, and promoting the correct concept of sex and the importance of safe sex in youths. All right, if no members wish to speak, this item will be put to a vote. Will those in favor of FCR 2013-14 39 please raise your hand? Thank you. Those against, please raise your hands. No. None. So this proposal is endorsed. Item 6, the last item, FCR 2013-14-40. This item invites members to approve a new commitment of 67.218 million for the Vocational Training Council, VTC, to enhance its information technology, infrastructure and services. On the 11th of November, the Education Bureau consulted the panel on education of the Legislative Council. To answer members' questions, we have in attendance Mr. Kelvin Young, Under Secretary for Education, and Ms. Pak Vin Yong, PAS for Education, and Mr. Gary Au, Senior Assistant Executive Director, VTC, and Mr. Oliver Shah, System Manager, IT Services Division of VTC. Dr. Lam Tai Fai, would you please report the deliberation of the panel on education as chairman? Thank you, Chairman. On the 11th of November 2013, the panel on education deliberated on the relevant funding proposal. Some members are concerned about the sequence of various initiatives under this scheme and whether similar schemes are in place for other public money funded tertiary institutions. Some members expressed support for the enhancement of IT infrastructure and services of the VTC. The panel, in principle, does not object to the administration's submitting this proposal to FC. So if there are no other questions, this item will be put to a vote. Will those in favor of FCR 2013-14-40, please raise your hands. Please put down your hands. Will those against, please raise your hands. None. So I think this proposal is endorsed. Date of next meeting. I'd like to remind members that next meeting will be held on the 20th. Please bear in mind, because we have consulted the administration, and the items are listed for the meeting on the 20th.